The pristine white Lamborghini Huracan suddenly shuddered to a halt in the parking lot of Jimmy's gas station, a modest service station in the heart of Liberty City, Miami. The contrast couldn't have been more striking. A $300,000 supercar sitting among worn pickup trucks and aging sedans under the sweltering Florida sun. Khalil al-Rashid, 52, stepped out of the vehicle, his Italian leather shoes clicking against the cracked asphalt. The owner of Al-Rashid Luxury Motors, a chain of 5 high-end dealerships across South Florida worth $85 million, was not accustomed to such surroundings. His tailored Armani suit, Rolex Submariner, and perfectly groomed salt and pepper beard screamed wealth and privilege. This was a man who lived in a $12 million Coral Gables mansion and whose idea of mechanical problems was calling his personal concierge service. The gas station buzzed with afternoon activity. Working-class families filled up their tanks. Teenagers gathered around a beat-up Honda with a booming sound system, and elderly customers bought lottery tickets inside the convenience store. The air smelled of gasoline, motor oil, and the faint aroma of Cuban coffee from the cafe next door. This was real Miami, far from the gleaming towers of Brickell and the pristine beaches of Key Biscayne, where Khalil spent his time. Maya Thompson, 29, emerged from underneath a Ford F-150, wiping her oil-stained hands on a worn mechanic's coverall. Her natural hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and despite the grime on her clothes, there was something commanding about her presence. She moved with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Maya had been working at Jimmy's for 8 months now, ever since she lost her job at Precision Automotive Engineering, due to what HR diplomatically called restructuring, but what everyone knew was systematic discrimination. Khalil popped the hood of his Lamborghini and stared at the complex engine with the helplessness of a man who had never touched anything more mechanical than a garage door opener. The V10 engine, worth more than most people's annual salary, sat silent and mysterious under the hood. He pulled out his iPhone, scrolling through his contacts with increasing frustration. Maya approached cautiously, having overheard his muttered Arabic curses. She had learned to read people quickly in this job, and everything about this man screamed trouble. His body language was that of someone accustomed to having problems solved with money, not effort. "Excuse me, sir," Maya said politely, her voice carrying a slight southern accent mixed with years of Miami living. "I couldn't help but notice you're having car trouble. I'm a mechanic here. Maybe I can take a look." Khalil looked up from his phone, his dark eyes scanning Maya from head to toe with undisguised disdain. He saw exactly what he expected. A young, black woman in dirty coveralls, probably a high school dropout trying to make ends meet. In his world, mechanics were invisible service providers, and female mechanics were practically non-existent. "Listen, girl," Khalil said, his accent thick with condescension. "This is a Lamborghini Huracan, not some beat-up Honda Civic. This car costs more than you'll make in 5 years. I need a real mechanic, not someone playing dress-up in coveralls." The words hit Maya like a physical blow, but she had heard worse. She had spent her entire career fighting perceptions, proving herself in rooms where she was the only woman, the only black person, or both. But it never got easier. "Sir, I understand your concern, but I have experience with high-performance vehicles. If you just let me listen to the engine, I might be able to help diagnose the problem." Khalil laughed, a harsh sound that attracted the attention of other customers. "You think I'm going to let some gas station attendant touch a $250,000 car? Do you have any idea who I am? I'm Khalil al-Rashid. I own the largest luxury car dealership group in South Florida. I'd never hire someone like you, and I'm certainly not going to let you mess up my car." The gas station fell quiet. Other customers stopped what they were doing, sensing the tension. An elderly Cuban man shook his head in disgust. A young mother hurried her children toward their car, uncomfortable with the public humiliation unfolding before them. Maya felt her cheeks burn with shame and anger, but she maintained her composure. She had 2 children at home, Marcus, 8, and Zara, 6, who depended on her paycheck. She couldn't afford to lose her temper, no matter how much this arrogant man deserved it. "I apologize for bothering you," Maya said quietly, turning to walk away. But as she did, she heard the distinctive clicking sound coming from under the hood. Without thinking, she stopped and called back. "Sir, that clicking you're hearing, that's your high-pressure fuel pump failing. It's a common issue with the 2020 Huracan models. If you keep trying to start it, you'll damage the entire fuel system." Khalil froze, his finger hovering over his phone. How could this woman possibly know about a specific defect in a car model that had only been identified by Lamborghini technicians? But his pride wouldn't let him admit that a gas station mechanic might know something he didn't. Instead, he dialed his personal mechanic, Alessandro, who serviced all his luxury cars. "Alessandro, it's Khalil. My Lamborghini broke down at some ghetto gas station in Liberty City. How fast can you get here?" He paused, listening. "What do you mean, 3 hours? I have a dinner meeting with the Ferrari representatives at 8 p.m. This is unacceptable." As Khalil argued with his mechanic, Maya returned to the Ford she had been working on, but she couldn't help glancing occasionally at the Lamborghini, her trained ear picking up every sound the engine made when Khalil periodically tried to start it. Each attempt made her wince, knowing he was making the problem worse. What do you think Maya should do next? Should she try to help again? Or let Khalil figure it out himself? Drop a comment with the word respect if you believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity regardless of their job. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories like this one. 20 minutes passed, and Khalil's frustration grew with each failed attempt to start his car. The Florida heat was becoming unbearable, sweat staining his expensive suit as he paced around the vehicle. Other customers watched with a mixture of amusement and sympathy as the wealthy man struggled with a problem money couldn't immediately solve. Maya, meanwhile, had successfully diagnosed and repaired a complex transmission issue in a 1995 Chevrolet Suburban that 3 other mechanics had given up on. The owner, Mrs. Rodriguez, a hard-working housekeeper who needed her car to get to her 3 cleaning jobs, was nearly in tears with gratitude. "Mija, you're a miracle worker," Mrs. Rodriguez said in Spanish, pressing a crumpled $20 bill into Maya's hands despite her protests. "God bless you and your babies." Maya smiled, the genuine appreciation warming her heart in a way Khalil's insults couldn't cool it. This was why she became a mechanic, to help people who depended on their vehicles to survive, people who couldn't afford to be stranded. As Mrs. Rodriguez drove away, Maya heard Khalil's voice rising in anger as he spoke to someone else on the phone. "What do you mean the parts won't be available until tomorrow? Do you know how much money I spend at your dealership every year?" Despite herself, Maya felt a twinge of sympathy. She walked over to where Khalil stood, his back to her, as he continued his heated phone conversation. "Sir," she said quietly, not wanting to embarrass him further, "I know you don't want my help, but I couldn't help overhearing. If it is the fuel pump, which I'm pretty sure it is based on the sound, there's a temporary workaround that might get you through the evening. It won't fix the problem permanently, but it could get you to your meeting." Khalil spun around, his face a mask of irritation and desperation. "And why would you help me after what I said?" Maya looked at him steadily, her dark eyes showing a maturity beyond her years. "Because that's what decent people do. They help each other, regardless of how they've been treated." For the first time since arriving at the gas station, Khalil really looked at Maya. He noticed the intelligence in her eyes, the confidence in her posture, the way she spoke with technical precision rather than the broken English he had assumed. There was something about her that didn't fit his preconceived notions. "What kind of workaround?" he asked reluctantly. Maya pointed to the engine. "The high-pressure fuel pump has a bypass system for emergencies. If I can access the fuel rail and manually adjust the pressure regulator, it should give you enough fuel flow to start the engine and drive to your destination. But you'll need to keep the RPMs low and avoid aggressive acceleration." Khalil stared at her, his mouth slightly open. The technical terms she was using were not something a gas station attendant would know. These were concepts that even his dealership's technicians sometimes struggled with. "You're telling me you know about fuel rail pressure regulation in a Lamborghini?" Maya shrugged, suddenly looking tired. "I know about a lot of things, Mr. Al-Rashid. More than you might think." At that moment, a tow truck pulled into the gas station. A young Hispanic man jumped out and approached Khalil. "Mr. Al-Rashid, I'm from Alessandro's shop. He sent me to tow your car to the dealership." Khalil looked between the tow truck driver and Maya, his mind racing. The tow would cost time he didn't have, and there was no guarantee the dealership could fix it today. But trusting this woman went against everything his prejudices told him. "How long would this workaround take?" he asked Maya. 15 minutes, maybe 20, she replied. "But I understand if you'd rather wait for a certified Lamborghini technician." The comment stung because it highlighted his hypocrisy. He demanded expertise, but rejected it based on packaging that didn't meet his expectations. Khalil took a deep breath, his business instincts warring with his prejudices. Missing the Ferrari meeting would cost him millions in potential contracts. "If you damage my car, then you can sue me for everything I have, which isn't much," Maya said dryly. "But I won't damage your car, Mr. Al-Rashid. I know what I'm doing." Something in her tone, the quiet confidence, the lack of defensiveness, made Khalil nod reluctantly. "Fine, but I'm watching every move you make." Maya nodded and walked to her toolbox, selecting specific instruments with the precision of a surgeon choosing scalpels. Khalil noticed that her tools were high-quality, professional-grade equipment that cost more than most people's monthly rent. As Maya began working, her movements were fluid and purposeful. She didn't hesitate or fumble around blindly. Every action demonstrated deep understanding of the vehicle's systems. Within minutes, she had accessed the fuel rail system, her hands moving with the skill of someone who had done this countless times before. "The problem is exactly what I thought," Maya said, not looking up from her work. "The high-pressure pump is failing intermittently. See this sensor reading? It should be showing 1200 psi, but it's fluctuating between 600 and 900. That's why your engine was cutting out." Khalil leaned in closer, genuinely curious now. He had owned dozens of luxury cars, but had never understood their inner workings beyond turning the key and pressing the accelerator. "How did you know that from just the sound?" he asked. Maya glanced up, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Every engine has its own voice, Mr. Al-Rashid. When you know how to listen, it tells you exactly what's wrong." She continued working, explaining each step in terms that were technical yet accessible. Khalil found himself genuinely interested in learning how his expensive toy actually functioned. "There," Maya said, straightening up and wiping her hands. "Try starting it now, but remember to keep the RPMs below 3000. Khalil slid into the driver's seat, his hand trembling slightly as he pressed the start button. The Lamborghini roared to life, the engine purring smoothly for the first time in hours. He stepped out of the car, staring at Maya with newfound respect and growing confusion. Everything he thought he knew about her had been wrong. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "And don't tell me you're just a gas station mechanic." Maya looked at him for a long moment, as if deciding whether he was worth the truth. Finally, she spoke. "My name is Maya Thompson. I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering from MIT with a specialization in high-performance automotive systems. I spent 5 years working for Precision Automotive Engineering, where I designed fuel injection systems for Formula One cars. I hold 17 patents related to engine efficiency and emissions reduction. And yes, Mr. Al-Rashid, I am currently working as a mechanic at Jimmy's gas station because sometimes life doesn't care about your degrees or your dreams. The revelation hit Khalil like a physical blow. He had just insulted and dismissed one of the most qualified automotive engineers on the East Coast, a woman whose innovations were probably running in cars he sold at his dealerships. MIT, he whispered, the full magnitude of his mistake sinking in. Graduated summa cum laude, Maya confirmed, but I'm sure someone like me couldn't possibly understand high-performance vehicles, right? The sarcasm in her voice was gentle but cutting. Khalil felt shame wash over him in a way he hadn't experienced since childhood. This is where things get really interesting, folks. Sometimes the people we judge the harshest are exactly the ones we need the most. What do you think Khalil should do now? Make sure you stick around, because what happens next will blow your mind. Don't forget to subscribe to see how this incredible story unfolds. Khalil stood in the parking lot, his mind reeling as he tried to process what he had just learned. Maya Thompson wasn't just qualified to work on his Lamborghini, she was overqualified to work on any car in his entire dealership inventory. The woman he had dismissed as a gas station attendant possessed expertise that his own technicians could only dream of. "Why?" Khalil asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you working here if you have all those qualifications?" Maya's expression hardened slightly, years of fighting battles finally showing in her eyes. "You really want to know, Mr. Al-Rashid? Because the answer might make you uncomfortable." Khalil nodded, though he wasn't sure he was ready for the truth. Maya leaned against the Lamborghini, her voice taking on the weary tone of someone who had told this story too many times. "I was the lead engineer on a project to develop next-generation hybrid systems for luxury sports cars. Our team created a system that could increase fuel efficiency by 40% while actually improving performance. It was revolutionary technology that would have changed the entire industry." She paused, watching a group of children play in the parking lot of the apartment complex across the street, kids who looked like her own children, growing up in neighborhoods where dreams often went to die. But when it came time to present our findings to the board of directors, my supervisor, a white man with half my qualifications, took credit for the entire project. When I protested, I was told I was being difficult and not a team player. 6 months later, during what they called corporate restructuring, I was let go. My supervisor got promoted to vice president. Khalil felt a knot forming in his stomach. He had seen similar situations in his own business dealings, though he had never really thought about them from the victim's perspective. "I spent 8 months sending out resumes," Maya continued. "Do you know what it's like to have 17 patents and a degree from MIT, but every interview ends the same way? We'll be in touch. You're overqualified. We're looking for someone who's a better cultural fit." I knew what they really meant. She gestured toward Jimmy's gas station, where the owner, a kind Italian-American man in his 70s, was helping an elderly customer check her oil. Jimmy was the only person who hired me based on what I could do, not what I looked like. He doesn't care that I'm a black woman with kids. He cares that I can fix anything with an engine and that I treat his customers with respect. This job doesn't use even 10% of my skills, but it puts food on my table and keeps a roof over my children's heads. Khalil thought about his own hiring practices. His 5 dealerships employed over 200 people, but he realized that his management staff was almost entirely white and male. He had always told himself he hired the best candidates, but now he wondered if he had ever really looked beyond the surface. The irony, Maya said with a bitter laugh, is that the hybrid system I developed is now being used by 3 major manufacturers. They're making millions from my work while I'm changing oil and rotating tires for $18 an hour. At that moment, Khalil's phone buzzed with a text from his dinner meeting. The Ferrari representatives were confirming their 8 p.m. reservation at Joe's Stone Crab, one of Miami's most exclusive restaurants. The contract they were discussing could bring $50 million in business to his dealerships over the next 3 years. He looked at Maya, this brilliant woman who had just saved his evening and possibly his business deal, and felt ashamed of every assumption he had made about her. "Maya," he said quietly, "what would it take to get you out of here?" Maya's eyes flashed with anger. "Excuse me." "No, no," Khalil said quickly, realizing how his words sounded. "I mean, what would it take to get you back to doing what you're trained to do? What would it take to make this right?" Maya studied his face, looking for signs of mockery or condescension. She had heard promises before from men in expensive suits who forgot about her the moment they drove away. "Mr. Al-Rashid, I appreciate the sentiment, but I've learned not to trust grand gestures from people who 5 minutes ago wouldn't let me touch their car." Khalil nodded, understanding her skepticism. "You're right not to trust me. I've given you no reason to. But let me ask you this. If you could design your ideal job, what would it look like?" Maya considered the question, a spark of her old ambition flickering in her eyes. "I'd want to run my own research and development department. I'd focus on making high-performance cars more sustainable without sacrificing the driving experience. I'd mentor young engineers from underrepresented communities, giving them the opportunities I never had. And I'd make sure that innovation was rewarded regardless of who came up with it." As she spoke, her voice grew stronger, more confident. This was the Maya who had graduated at the top of her MIT class, who had revolutionized fuel injection systems, who had patents that were changing the automotive industry. Khalil listened, his business mind already working. His dealership sold some of the world's most advanced cars, but he had always relied on manufacturers for innovation. What if he could be ahead of the curve instead of following it? "Maya," he said slowly, "what if I told you I could give you exactly that? What if I offered you the position of Director of Innovation and Development at Al-Rashid Luxury Motors with a research budget of $5 million and the authority to build your own team?" Maya stared at him, certain she had misheard. "Director of what now?" "You'd report directly to me. Your job would be to identify emerging technologies, develop partnerships with manufacturers, and yes, mentor young engineers. Starting salary would be $180,000, plus performance bonuses that could double that." The number hit Maya like a lightning bolt. It was more money than she had ever made, more than she had dared to dream of since losing her previous job. But years of disappointment had taught her to be cautious. "And what's the catch, Mr. Al-Rashid? Because there's always a catch." Khalil took a deep breath, knowing his next words would reveal everything about who he really was. "The catch is that you'd be working for someone who spent the last hour proving he's everything that's wrong with this industry. The catch is that you'd have to trust me to do better, and I'd have to prove every day that I deserve that trust." Maya looked at this wealthy Arab man who had humiliated her, insulted her, and dismissed her, and who was now offering her the opportunity of a lifetime. Everything logical told her to walk away, but something in his eyes, perhaps genuine remorse mixed with respect, made her pause. "I have conditions," she said finally. "Name them." "First, I want a mentorship program for young people from underserved communities, real opportunities, not just charity photo ops. Second, I want your hiring practices reviewed and reformed across all your dealerships. And third, I want everything in writing with a contract that protects me if you decide later that you made a mistake." Khalil extended his hand. Deal, but I have one condition of my own. Maya raised an eyebrow. Which is? You help me understand how someone as successful as me could be so completely wrong about someone as talented as you, because I need to make sure I never make this mistake again. For the first time since their encounter began, Maya smiled, not the professional smile she gave customers, but a genuine expression of cautious hope. That, she said, shaking his hand, is going to be a very long conversation, Mr. Al-Rashid. 18 months later, Maya Thompson Al-Rashid stood at the podium of the Miami Beach Convention Center, addressing an audience of 3,000 automotive industry professionals at the International Green Car Summit. Behind her, a massive screen displayed the logo of the Maya Thompson Innovation Center, the research and development subsidiary of Al-Rashid Luxury Motors. When I was working at a gas station just 2 years ago, Maya began, her voice clear and confident, I thought my career in automotive engineering was over. I had experienced discrimination that nearly broke my spirit. But I learned something important during that time. Sometimes our greatest setbacks are just setups for our greatest comebacks. In the front row, Khalil Al-Rashid watched with pride as Maya presented the revolutionary hybrid system that had made his company the most innovative luxury car dealership group in the Southeast. The technology she had developed was now being licensed to manufacturers worldwide, generating millions in revenue and establishing Al-Rashid Luxury Motors as a leader in sustainable performance vehicles. Maya's mentorship program had trained over 150 young engineers from underrepresented communities, with 89% of them landing jobs at major automotive companies. The program had become a model copied by businesses across the country. I want to thank someone who taught me that people can change, Maya continued, gesturing toward Khalil. Khalil Al-Rashid could have driven away that day and forgotten all about the gas station mechanic who fixed his car. Instead, he chose to confront his own prejudices and create opportunities for others. That's the kind of leadership our industry needs. The audience erupted in applause. Later, at the reception, Maya was surrounded by executives wanting to learn about her latest innovations, but she took a moment to speak with a young black woman who had approached her nervously. Ms. Thompson, I'm Sarah Williams. I just graduated from Georgia Tech with a degree in mechanical engineering, but I'm having trouble finding opportunities. Do you have any advice? Maya smiled, remembering her own struggles. Sarah, talent doesn't have a color or a gender. Sometimes the people who dismiss you are just revealing their own limitations. Keep pushing, keep believing in yourself, and remember, your voice and your ideas matter. The industry needs people like you more than you know. As the evening wound down, Khalil and Maya stood on the hotel balcony overlooking Biscayne Bay, the Miami skyline twinkling in the distance. Do you ever think about that day at the gas station? Khalil asked. Maya nodded. Every day. It reminds me how close I came to giving up on my dreams. And it reminds me that sometimes the people who hurt us the most end up helping us the most, if they're willing to change. Khalil looked out at the water, reflecting on his own journey. I spent 52 years thinking I was successful because I was smart and worked hard. That day, you showed me that I was successful despite being ignorant and prejudiced. You didn't just fix my car, Maya. You fixed something broken in me. Maya placed a hand on his shoulder. We fixed each other, Khalil. And we've proven that when people from different backgrounds come together with mutual respect, amazing things can happen. Back in Liberty City, Jimmy's gas station still operates under the same kind management of Jimmy Rossini. On the wall behind the cash register hangs a framed photo, Maya in her cap and gown at the Georgia Tech ceremony, where she received an honorary doctorate, standing next to Khalil, both of them smiling broadly. Below the photo, a small plaque reads, Maya Thompson, from our shop to the top, dreams do come true. The story of the Arab millionaire and the gas station mechanic had become legend in Miami's automotive circles, but more importantly, it had become a catalyst for change throughout the industry. Companies began reviewing their hiring practices, creating mentorship programs, and recognizing that innovation could come from the most unexpected places. Maya's children, Marcus and Zara, now attend one of Miami's finest private schools, but they spend their summers working at Jimmy's gas station, learning the value of hard work and treating everyone with respect, regardless of their circumstances. And Khalil? He learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or luxury cars, but in the lives you touch and the opportunities you create for others. He discovered that the most valuable thing he ever gained wasn't a business contract or a profit margin. It was the friendship and respect of a woman who had every reason to hate him, but chose instead to believe in redemption. What do you think about Maya and Khalil's incredible journey? Have you ever experienced or witnessed discrimination in the workplace? How do you think we can create more opportunities for talented people, regardless of their background? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters to us. If this story touched your heart and inspired you to see people differently, please subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories of transformation, redemption, and the power of second chances. Remember, everyone has a story worth hearing and talents worth recognizing. Sometimes we just need to look beyond our assumptions to see the extraordinary people right in front of us.